Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We are filling cups and keeping cups filled. Real quick, we are filling a cup right now by making your dinner meal plan and grocery list for the week. Head over to our Instagram at Fill Your Cups podcast to check it out.
Today's topic is all about building habits into your relationships to keep them nurtured. We're going to have a real juicy conversation talking about the habit loop today, which we can get into more, but this is basically cue, craving, response, and reward.
The cue is something that triggers a craving. A craving is the feeling that you experience. The response is what you did in response to that feeling, and the reward is fulfilling the craving through that response. I know that that's a lot, so we'll go into that on another episode, or just read Atomic Habits by James Clear and you'll get the whole thing. But for this episode, we're just going to be talking about the cues and responses.
For example, when you hear us say cue, this is something that you experience regularly in your everyday life that is used to trigger some type of response. When you hear us say response, that's the action that cue prompts you to take. Again, this all sounds really technical, but we're going to make it really simple for you by giving you small things that you can do to nurture the relationships in your life. Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first, what are you drinking?
I actually have a vanilla cola Zevia. I don't know if you've had these before, but they're like plant-based, sugar-free sodas or whatever. And
Amazing.
I found out Hy-Vee has 1 zillion flavors that I didn't know existed. So it's a vanilla one.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, what about you?
I'm just drinking water. Just water and ice.
That's fair. That's fair. At the time that we're recording this, it's just Sunday afternoon.
It
is.
I
know I had a really busy weekend. Well, yeah, I'm excited to get into this episode.
Me too. We want to shout out everyone listening to our very first podcast episode. We're so excited to finally be doing this. We've talked about it for a long time. So it's just really exciting, and we felt like we had such a strong community around us that we were like, people will listen to us. Even if it's just us that want to yap, people will listen to us. So there you go. We want to shout out you guys.
Yes, thank you all. We're really excited. We decided that this first episode, we're going to talk about something that we've noticed that we implement a lot in our own lives, and that's just little habits, rituals that you can implement into your relationships. And I do want to talk about kind of how we got into the idea. Mm-hmm. So this is going back quite a few years, even further than even thinking about the podcast, but I had started implementing this little ritual that Jared and I do, my husband and I do, every night before bed when we first got married. At the end of the day, we would just say the best part of our day. Mm-hmm. And I know you know about that, but the reason that came about, which I don't think you knew until just earlier when I was telling you, is I took a class in college called Intimate Relationships, and it was specifically about the relationships in your life, like marriages or close friendships or siblings, those relationships in your life that are closest to you. Mm-hmm. And one day we were assigned an article to read, and something that the article really focused on was this cute little old married couple that they rated, their marriage. They were very happy in their marriage. And they talked about one thing that really came to light in the article that they talked about was really great in their marriage was every day at 5:00 at the end of the workday, they would sit down and have a little glass of wine and talk about their day. They would sit at the kitchen table, and it was a physical thing that they did. The cue at the beginning or at the end of their day was just that they sat down and they did that. And the article went on that it really talked about that couple specifically, but it went on to kind of pull some research about different marriages and that marriages that really implemented these kinds of rituals into their days were really happy marriages and really happy with their partners. So that was what kind of prompted me to think about, okay, well, there's nothing.
What can I do?
Yeah, there's obviously nothing special about it being wine or the kitchen table or 5:00. It could be any time of day or any kind of little thing. So I remember when I first suggested it to Jared, I think honestly I might have gotten like an eye roll or something.
Probably.
But now it's just a habit that at the end of the day we say the best part of our day. Mm-hmm. And so I know that you had told me that that was something that you had started to do.
Yeah, no, I remember whenever you told me that, and I just thought that was such a cute thing that you guys did. And I had just recently started dating my now husband, Mason. And I remember saying to you, like, well, we started doing that too. Like, I just have always looked up to you, I think, a lot. And especially in your relationships, because you're so great. And you had that for several years before I had any kind of serious relationship. So I was like, yeah, this girl knows what she's doing. But I remember coming to you and saying, like, yeah, Mason and I started doing that. And it was something that we did every night for a long time that truly was so fun to do together. And it was truly something that at the end of the day, we were able to come together again, and it was such a small habit that made such a big difference for us. So I really loved that, and I loved like stealing your idea and using it for what worked good in me and Mason's relationship.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Yes.
I remember that you guys kind of doubled up on it even.
Yeah.
Like you did the best 3 parts of your day.
We
or something
did,
like
we
that.
did, because the best part of our day was always seeing each other, and that got boring after a while. So we're like, let's say 3 parts of our day. And we have since changed it up a bit, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I loved that. And I would not mind stealing the ritual from the people in the essay you were talking about. Having a glass of wine every day with my husband. That sounds perfect.
Especially being the Fill Your Cups podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
It fits really well. But yeah, I know that we really wanted to talk about, because obviously this example is within our marriages, but
Yeah.
we have found a lot of ways, I know, to implement this into other relationships
All
as well.
relationships, yeah.
So I know we want to talk a little bit about that and why that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think for me, whenever I can think about the other relationships, I know how important it is to have healthy and happy relationships in all aspects of your life, like we were just saying, and that your relationships are something that you can have control over. And it's like, why, whenever I can control how these are going, I can make sure that these people are feeling loved in my life, and I can make sure that I'm feeling loved, and blah, blah, blah. So I really love that we're talking about this, because it is so important. And to know that little things go such a long way. Nothing has to be big. It doesn't have to be these huge actions. Just these little things that you're doing every day to just make your relationship better. Keep those cups filled.
Yeah, and if we keep with the Fill Your Cups example, which I'm sure we will many times on this podcast, we love to use that analogy. But if you think about, I've got my sister cup, and then I've got my marriage cup, and then I've got my coworker cup or my mom cup or whatever, all of these different cups that we're trying to fill, really small drops every now and then add up over time to create this full cup. So it's not something that you have, you don't need to be pouring into it all the time, every time that you do.
Right.
Little drops make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that I'm excited to talk about this.
Me too.
So let's dive into the how-to.
it.
I know that we really love having like habits and tips and tricks and just small ways that you can make big impact in your life. And so we kind of want to talk about tangible ways that our listeners can find little rituals like the cute old couple in the article to find ones that match you, because maybe having a glass of wine at 5:00 at the end of the day doesn't make sense for you. Maybe you don't have a traditional work schedule.
Maybe you don't drink wine.
Maybe you don't drink wine.
Maybe you don't have a kitchen table.
There you go. Who knows? I know we didn't for a while. But yeah, I know we want to talk about the different relationships and tangible things that you can do there, and we're going to pull in examples from our own lives. But really, I want to encourage you guys as our listeners to reflect as we talk, maybe write down some of the things that were true the last time your cup felt really full. Take a moment now to write down, okay, last time I was really happy. What was it?
What led up to that?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe write like 10, 15 things down, and then we'll tell you how you can incorporate those, because sometimes it's not so easy to, it's like, yes, it's easy to know what makes me happy, but it's not so easy to put that into my day, because we're all so busy.
Yeah, who has the time? Where can I fit this in my schedule? We're going to go over specific ways and the times that you can definitely do that. Make sure it fits.
Yeah. So I know we kind of want to start off with your relationship with yourself.
Yep.
Because what was it earlier? I was saying everybody's heard you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
So
Gotta make sure you're full.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know you had a really good example of something that you do regularly.
Yeah, one of my self things that I make sure to get in on my own time is every morning on my drive to work, I get in my car, I'm immediately starting my podcast. It's my podcast that no one else wants to listen to. I want to listen to it. I'm going to listen to it by myself. And every morning when I do that, I just feel ready for the day. I feel just jazzed up. And I think that that's something that's become such a cue and response for myself. I start every morning off with that.
Yeah, and it's such a small thing, which is what I like. I like that it's not crazy big, but it's a mood shift, right?
It is, yeah.
It gives you a better attitude, because you wake up and you're like, oh God, I don't want to go to work.
Right. It's almost like the beginning of my day. I'm like, okay, it's officially started.
It's official. It's Monday.
Yes, exactly.
Podcast starting. It's funny that you're talking about that because mine is like the end of the week.
Yes.
It's official. It's the weekend. So my cue is at the end of the work week, Friday at 4:30. It kind of depends when we walk our dog, honestly. But after that, I turn on our TV on YouTube. I turn on just a couple jams. Usually they're like 90s or 2000 jams.
Of course, your favorites.
One Direction, Taylor Swift, the classics. And just a couple songs on YouTube that kind of starts my weekend right, because I just realized, and again, these are not things that you necessarily have to do as the listener, but when you think about the last time you were really excited, like I said, I had a wedding last night. I just love to dance at weddings.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
It's fun.
It's so fun. And of course, you don't have a wedding every Friday at 4:00 to go to. I mean, honestly, that would be exhausting.
Oh, it would be awful.
It did feel like we kind of had that last
You did.
year. We had like 10 weddings last year.
Yes.
But I just kept realizing, I was like, why am I waiting for an opportunity to dance when it makes me so happy? So now I have Friday living room dance parties. It kind of reminds me of Jenny and Georgia, now that I think about it. That TV show. Yeah. If you've ever watched that, Bailey put me onto that.
Highly recommend.
But it's just something that really, it puts me in the right state to have a really great weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just a mood shift. And it's just a few minutes, It's not a long thing, but it can make a world of a difference if I'm tired and cranky from the work week or something, I just had like a stressful phone call or something like that at the end of the work week. So that's something that I know really it's only for me, and that's why when I think about the relationship with myself, it's just something for me, and it really makes a big difference.
My next one that I do that it's definitely a self-care one and the filling my own cup is that for years, I would say, and I'm sure everyone does this, they say, oh yeah, when I get paid, I'm going to put this money into savings, or I'm going to really try to stack up my savings this year. For me personally, that has never happened. That is something I am horrible at following through with. I get my paycheck, I spend it immediately. I do what I want. So one day I said, okay, enough's enough. The second I get paid, I need to start putting an X amount of money into my savings. And it has become such a habitual thing for me that now Q is I'm getting paid on Friday. It's payday, baby. Response is the literal first thing I do when I open my phone in the morning is I move over the money every single time I get paid. And my savings has just gone crazy because that is something I'm making sure to do, and it's become a habit for me. And that was something I never was doing before because I didn't try to make any type of routine. Yeah. I just said, I'm going to do it. No, I didn't. I never did it. Yeah. So this time I'm doing it, and it's been great.
That is so awesome. I'm proud of you. I honestly didn't know that you were doing that until today. So that's really cool.
Thanks.
I love that. Yeah, and
it's been really exciting to see it grow. And I'm like, wow, what a quick 2-second thing.
Yeah, takes no time. You don't even. I mean, and it's one of those things where it's like you don't even really see the money in your check.
Exactly.
In your
that's why I do it immediately.
Yeah, that's so smart. I love that. And I know we were kind of talking about this before, that maybe some of these things that we want to implement in our lives are because we didn't see the exact model laid out before us.
Yeah.
Like whether that's because it was there or not. I mean, just to be totally honest, I think they would admit this, but growing up, we didn't exactly know personal finance that well.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't I think I took one class on it in high school,
Yeah.
and we, like, played Monopoly half the time. So it's...
I didn't take any classes on it.
Yeah. So when we're talking about these cues and responses that we can add into our lives that can make really meaningful impact, which having a savings account, that's a huge meaningful impact.
Yeah.
That, I think those little things could be things that you witnessed someone else do that really made their life better. Like we were talking about with, you saw me and Jared doing some things and you wanted to do it with you and Mason. Or it can be the opposite. Like, you didn't really ever experience super financial security, and that's something that is really important to you going forward for your future self and future family. And so you're like, I'm going to start this ritual now.
Yeah.
And it's going to benefit not only me, but it's going to, I mean, it is, right now it's probably benefiting like just you, but that's a long-term thing that over time, that's going to give you the skill for personal finance that you need for other stages of your life.
Yes, definitely. I also think it's been something that because it's been my habit and because I am married, that this has started it affects Mason as well. Like, we both know, like, wow, we have way more in our savings than we ever have. And it's all due to my one little every morning. Or not every morning. every payday morning.
Every morning would be like up another level.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I wish. Maybe one day. But right now, every payday morning, I'm switching it over, and it's such a small thing that's gone such a long way for us.
Yeah, and I know that kind of leads well into us wanting to talk about little rituals with our partners too.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's something that like you started for yourself, but it's starting to influence Mason as well, your partner. And so I know we wanted to talk a little bit about partners, and we have talked a little bit about that with, you know, the cute older couple in the article and all that. But there are some specific things I know you and I have both started doing in our relationships. And whether this is a dating relationship or a marriage, or if you're single even, these are things that you can kind of store in the back of your mind for when you are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Things that you're like, okay, actually that would be really important for me. And like we were talking about, maybe things that you are witnessing other people do regularly, or things that you maybe don't want in your relationship and you want to replace with a little ritual. So obviously the easy example for me is the going to bed example that I was saying earlier. The cue is you lay down for the end of the night. And to be totally honest with you, Jared and I don't even go to bed at the same time. Typically, some nights if he's like really tired, but I am an early riser and I have a whole morning routine that we can get into in another episode if people are interested in that.
We'll have to. It's amazing.
Yeah, but I have a whole morning routine, and so I got to go to bed at a certain time. And so the way that we connect before he goes and plays video games and I snooze off into dreamland is we say the best part of our day. And I think that anybody could do this. You could do this even, this just popped into my head, but like with kids, once you have kids.
That would be nice.
Yeah, you could at the end of your day do the best part of your day as a family. Or it doesn't even have to be the best part of your day. That's just what fit for us, but you could do like one thing that you were grateful for, or
that's what Mason and I do.
I love that. Or like something that you're looking forward to, or something that you want to celebrate. I think that I've even heard people say like the good, the bad, and the funny or something. They say one good thing about their day, one bad thing about their day, and then something that made them laugh.
Oh, I
think that's cute. For some reason, I can't ever think of something that made me laugh.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I laugh all the time, but...
I think for me, going to bed, we do our thing. We typically will switch between either the best part of our day or something that we're grateful for. Lately, I feel like we've been leaning into something you're grateful for, but it's like right as we're going to bed. We're about to fall asleep and we're like, okay, babe, what's something you're grateful for today? So I would not be able to think of a good, bad, and funny. However, if that works for you, do that. Yeah. I think it works a little bit better with kids, that specific example. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I heard it on someone else's podcast. I wish I could give them a shout out, but I can't even remember where it was. But you know, people listening could think of, I mean, this is an easy place to implement something is you're going to bed. What can you tag on there that could just take like a minute? I know you have something that's a little bit, it's not daily, it's more like a weekly tradition.
Yes. For us, our cue, it is Sunday. Our response, weekly reset. We have, kind of like I was saying with the savings, we tried something out for so long, it did not work for us. We tried saying, oh yeah, we'll do this. We never freaking did. So we started saying, okay, we need to have a weekly reset together. So every Sunday, we sit down together. We've been going to a restaurant or a coffee shop, but you could do this at home. I know, it's been really nice. And we will together make a grocery list, a meal plan. We'll go over our budget together. We'll go over kind of what we have coming up for the week, what we need to make sure we're looking at. We will go over basically whatever we can do to get our house ready for the week, make sure laundry's done, make sure it's picked up, and then we will grocery shop together. And it sounds like a lot, but it's something that when we sit down and do it, a meal plan takes 10 minutes. And quicker because we're doing it for you now. But going over the budget, if you're doing it every week, it takes 10 minutes. If you're grocery shopping together, that's the longest part of our day. But we're together, so we like it. You know what I mean?
When you do that, can I ask, so when you sit and have your weekly reset, because I love this idea. I really want to do it. I just feel like we need to find like the appropriate cue for us.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for us to be like, it's Sunday, it's lazy day.
Yes.
Not it's Sunday, let's reset day.
Yes.
So I do want to ask you a little bit more what that actually looks like. Like when you do your meal plan, do you do it in like a document? Do you do it in like a shared note? And then same for like household and budget. How does that look?
Yeah, so for the longest time, we were doing it in our notes app, which is shared. We had it shared to each other. But then it's funny that you're asking me this because just today, we were like, sometimes the note app doesn't keep up with you. Sometimes it doesn't make your changes. You can't work on it at the same time. So I was like, why don't we just do this in a Google Doc? Yeah. We can work on it at the exact same time. And then we could transfer it over to notes because that's what we use while we're grocery shopping, just so we can check it off as we go. But yeah, so I'll start. Anyway, we do a Google Doc and we have our grocery list spread out throughout, produce, meats, dairies, etc. We'll make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Put whatever we're going to be eating that day. Make sure we have everything on that grocery list. Okay. That's kind of how that looks for us. For our budget, we do have a Google spreadsheet where it's a specific budget one that the template was already made out for us. And then would just, So we literally go into our bank account. We look at whatever we spent for that week, copy it, put it into our budget spreadsheet. And then there's, on the template that's already made, there's a categories. And you can customize your categories. So, like, we have groceries, personal, social outings, fast food. Like, those are things. And then you just categorize it there. And then it does a huge template for you automatically to where it's showing you, like, a pie chart almost of this is how much you spent on groceries this week. This is how much you spent on fast food. Just so that way it's easy to actually track. Yeah. I don't think that's going to work for everybody. That is something that works for us. We are both visual people. So especially me, I'm a visual person. Just hearing the numbers doesn't work for me. I need to see it. That's like, why.
Oh, snap, I spent so much at Amazon this week.
Literally, that will happen to me where I'm like, no, we didn't spend that much. We went out to eat once. And it's like, okay, yeah, but that one time we did go out to eat, it was $50. And then we also got ice cream. And you wanted to get drinks before. And I'm like, oh, crap. So that one little date night was $100. Yeah. Oh, crap. And I'm like, okay. So that's what we personally do. And it works really well for us.
Okay. I like that. Thanks for letting me ask because I feel like having a little bit more of a glimpse into what it actually structurally looks like is helpful for me, especially knowing how specific I like to get. Like, okay, what does this actually look like? Where are you doing this? How are you doing this? And like you said, it won't work for everybody. I know that we use the shared notes app on ours, but we don't do it with like budget and household and all that. We do it for the meal plans and grocery. But we actually have recently noticed what you noticed about it not updating quickly.
Yeah, like stopped working.
Yeah, like we most often grocery shop together, but on the off week when I have something to do on Sunday, actually this happened today, we're doing podcast stuff today, and Jared went to the store, and sometimes it happens where we we want to add something. Like, I want to add something to the grocery list in Apple, or is it Apple Notes?
Yeah, iCloud.
Notes? Okay, yeah. In the Notes app, and I go to add it, and then he comes back, and I'm like, why didn't you get blueberries?
He's like, it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, and he's like, it wasn't on the list, and I'm looking at my list, and it says blueberries, and he's looking at his list, and it doesn't say blueberries, and I'm like, WTF, Apple? And so that has happened a couple times, so maybe we need to just go ahead and switch over to Docs, because it definitely is more live.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to work for us, and then we're literally going to copy and paste it over to our actual notes.
Okay, I love that. So really the reason that we're going through these examples is to make sure that the listeners, that you guys realize that there are things at different times in your relationship, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly, that you can implement. So for us, every month, and I know we've started doing this, but every month for the last year and a half, we started a thing where we alleviate the burden of one partner by planning that month's date for the other partner. So
I love that.
Yeah, so for example, it's when we're recording this episode, it's actually May. I know it's going out in June, but we are recording this episode in May, and May is my month to plan. So we have some kind of rules set around it. So this is the other thing that you can do with your little ritual. If it is a weekly or monthly thing, you can add some little rules to it. Our rule is that it can't just be dinner. You can't just plan a dinner date, because we do stuff like that pretty often. There has to be some sort of activity. It can include dinner.
Right.
And usually it does. And when I say dinner, I mean any meal. It can't be it can't be dinner, but it could be lunch. No, it's So we've started doing this, and it's a lot of fun. We have somehow gotten into the habit of making it a surprise. Ooh. So sometimes we'll invite a couple. I've even done it with you guys, actually. Where I invited you and Mason, and then our other sister, Julia, and her husband, Nate. And Jared didn't know who we were hanging out with until we got to the date, So somehow we've turned it into this little surprise thing too, which is a lot of fun. So, but it is kind of a ritual that we've worked into our monthly rotation. And so June will be Jared's turn, and I won't have to put any thought or effort into one of our dates for that month. Nice. Yeah, it's so nice, because the other thing is we kind of get into a rut sometimes with, I said, just doing okay, it's Saturday, let's go out for dinner, and that's our date. Yeah. And that's a lot more than some people can do, so I'm really thankful for that. But it's important to us that our marriage stays fresh and fun and new. Yeah. And so, we're going on 8 years this summer.
That's crazy.
Of being married. Yeah.
I was going to say only 8 years. That's not right. But being married.
Yeah. Well, because you were around when we got together in high school. So, we've been together a lot longer than that. Yeah. But when you are with a partner or in any relationship with someone, things can get boring. You can you can have the same conversations over and over. You can do the same things all the time. Yeah. And it's just fun to keep it new. But it's kind of funny I say that, because rituals in and of themselves are the same. Yeah. They're routine.
But it's you're creating a habit for your guys' relationship to make sure that things are staying fresh.
Yeah. It's a habit to prompt the spontaneity.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that.
Yeah. Build it in.
Some people are not just inherently spontaneous.
And
you have to have it.
And me and Jared are not.
You guys are not. I love it.
It's very easy for us to just get content, get into the groove of things.
Watch our show again?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then maybe the date turns into takeout and a show at home, and it's okay, that is fun sometimes, but it can't be every time. So
after a while, you're like, when's the last time we had a date?
Yeah.
And it's oh, I thought this was a date. Well, it's not really anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so and it's not a lot of effort. If you think about it, you're planning 6 dates a year. Oh, because it's every other month, so it's really not that much. And we've done all sorts of things. We've done the painting and wine classes. We've done
escape rooms. We've done mini golf.
golf.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. Because that's the one that you went to us with. And then, like I said, we do usually go eat after or before or something. And then sometimes when we have like a low budget month, we'll do something a little cheaper. Like one date Jared did, and this totally counts, is he got the It Takes Two video game.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You guys have played it too, haven't you?
Yeah, we've played it, but we can't finish it because I get way too upset.
What?
I'm not good at video games.
It's
I can't
stressful.
Do it. It's stressful, and then I cry.
Oh, man.
So we've decided to take a break from that for a little bit.
Okay, well, so maybe that's definitely not a ritual to add,
But it works for other people.
Yeah.
Other people love that game.
yeah. So he bought that, which was thoughtful, took extra effort, and even though we did it at home, he like bought that game, and then I think he got like, oh, this is what we did. He had us go. We went to the store together and we picked out stuff for like a charcuterie board because he knows I love to make those.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like our dinner activity. And we picked out some wines too that we like tried with it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Fun date
yeah.
night.
So
I
it
would
was-
switch out the game.
Yeah. So it was like an at-home date night, and it was a little bit cheaper than like going out to dinner and going and doing like a $30 activity or something.
Yeah.
But it was still intentional, and it was different from what we normally do.
Yes,
You know?
Yes, I love that. I feel like that kind of almost brings me into our next like point of making a ritual that one of you guys might already have and making it a ritual together. So I feel like for Jared, he plays a lot of video games.
Yeah.
This one he said like, "Oh, I want to spend time with my wife. Let me bring her in on this one. I'll get a video game we both like." And like that was an awesome date night for you guys. I feel like a huge example for Mason and I is that he loves sports. So we're always watching a baseball game, a football game, a basketball game. Someone says like, "Oh, you guys watching the game tonight?" And I'm like, "Probably." I don't know what game, but probably. But that's something that he loves. I don't care about it, but since I care about him and I love him, I'm interested in his hobbies and I want to make sure I can talk to him. So a huge thing for us is that when I know there's a baseball game on, I'm going to be sitting in the same room with him while he watches the game, and I can read. I can I don't know, be on my phone. Like it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm in the same room with him. And so now a baseball game has become a night where we're spending time together, and that's become a habit for us of, hey, like, what time's the game on? Oh, it's at 9:10. Okay, I'll probably be in bed at that time, so he's going to watch it in the bedroom with me while I'm getting ready for bed and I'm reading. Like,
Yeah.
I just think that's such a nice thing, that something that could so easily be his own habit where I'm feeling left out of, or I'm feeling like, oh, like we're just going to do our own separate things, which is fine sometimes. It's that's totally fine. But taking a habit that you know your partner or your friend or your mom has and making it something you both can do, so then it's something you guys are doing together. I think that's a really good thing to do and to try to implement in relationships everywhere.
Yeah, I really like that because you can look at your schedule and without being like, okay, I need to add something new so that Mason and I can connect. You can look at your schedule and look at what you two are already doing.
Yes.
Every week or every day or wherever that is, and just be like, okay, what can I add here to boost our connection?
Yeah.
And as you were talking about it, I know we weren't going to talk about this, but as you were talking about it, it reminded me of, I feel like people could add rituals again, like with their family or with their kids, because so many kids, I hear this from parents, like young moms all the time that are our age, that are starting to have kids that are in like soccer and or volleyball or
so
whatever.
busy.
Yeah, and they're so busy.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, let's look at our schedule and see what we're doing. So for instance, like if Chloe Love, our sister, has every Tuesday, she has a soccer game, then how could our mom, take her to her soccer game and then somehow stack a habit onto that Tuesday to either fill her cup for herself or maybe after the soccer game, it's like the cue is soccer game ends and she and Chloe Love maybe have a quick what went well and what didn't go well or something like that, like just a little recap, reevaluation kind of thing. And yeah, I feel like that's something that you could easily implement with
Yeah.
actual physical games
Right.
with your kids to establish some more meaningful connection. Or even like, I think about for moms as they take their kids to soccer games, and so much of their time I feel like is devoted to their kids' activities or
Yes.
band or choir or whatever the activity is, that maybe they could be like, okay, I'm going to drop my kid off, and then the cue is they've dropped their kid off, and the response is that they put on a 5-minute podcast or like or a 5-minute meditation or affirmation or something, and that's filling their cup.
Yeah.
Like that's something that you can look at your schedule between you, your partner, kids, whomever. Look at your schedule. What things already exist? What things can you not get out of? Honestly, like
Literally.
like that baseball schedule is going to exist whether you change it or not. You know,
Yep.
Well,
Your kid
can't-
has to be there. You have to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same, like, you're not going to be able to change the Royals schedule, right? So,
Hey, Padres.
oh, yeah, I'm
don't
sorry.
care.
Oh, I
I'm just kidding.
forgot. I
Take that
forgot. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, here in Kansas City, we're for the Royals. But yeah, like, the Royals and the Padres schedule is going to be the same. You know, they're not
Football
going to
is
change.
always going to be on Sunday. Is always going to have a football game during the football season.
Yeah,
It always will.
yeah. So maybe it's something where you can add in a little ritual, and it doesn't take extra time of finding time in your schedule because that time is already there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that example. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Taking a individual ritual and kind of
Making
pointing it into a partner ritual.
Yeah. And not even romantic partner.
Yeah,
Any relationship that you are nurturing in your life.
definitely.
You can take that, make it a thing. I know for you and your friends before, like, you love watching The Bachelor. I know that you have had bachelor nights with your other friends that you know love watching The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Why not make that a little thing that you're doing together? Like
Mhm.
a great little
Yeah.
habit that you're like, every Tuesday I will see my best friend, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch this. It's going to be great.
Yeah, the only reason I started watching The Bachelor was because I had nothing to offer the conversation for the seasons that Bachelor was on because that was all they would talk about. So we, in the spirit of FOMO, I totally watched The Bachelor for my friends. And then even as we parted ways, like to different like states of living and whatnot, I kept watching it. I don't watch it now. Do you?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't watched it since like JoJo's season.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
and years ago.
I feel like I kind of go through phases, but I did for a while when I didn't have friends close that really watched it. I did start the ritual of watching it with Jared's mom for a while, and then we kind of fizzled out of that, and I haven't really been watching it anyway. But yeah, it's something that you can totally do in any relationship that you have. And I love the idea of a TV schedule or a TV show because again, they have a schedule.
Yes.
It's
gonna be on.
Yeah, I watch The Voice every Monday.
Yeah.
So, every Monday I've got a particular routine, so I love that idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mhm.
Just make things you already do.
Yeah.
Do it together.
Yeah, and I love that you kind of brought up the friendship example because I know we wanted to talk specifically about friends.
Yeah.
Because it's so, I feel like people underestimate the importance of that, especially, I don't know. I think it's becoming more in the media is pointing to it.
Me too.
But like at our age, neither of us have kids right now, but in the future, it's really easy, I think, for moms to become all about their kids.
Yes.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's also important for them to be filling their cups in other places. And sometimes the best place for that is just other female friendships.
Yeah. I do think that also parents, especially moms, it can also be hard because you're no longer doing the things that your friends without kids are doing. So then you're falling out of those practices that you did together. This is, again, you just find new practices that you're already doing. You invite your friend along. Like, you know that you are taking your kid to gymnastics on this day. You call your friend during that time. Like,
I love that.
Such an easy thing that you can make sure you're still connected. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm over here just thinking about myself when I'm talking about like, oh, you take your kid to soccer and so you do something for yourself. But it's like, oh, actually, that's a really good, easy way, something that's built into your schedule where you can tag in a connection with your friend
Yeah.
and totally make it like a regular occurrence that on Monday gymnastic days I call Bailey or whomever that is.
Do make sure it's a friend who likes to talk on the phone. If it's a friend
That's
that
a good
doesn't like
point.
to talk on the phone, they're going to really dread those moments. So make sure
Yeah.
it's a talker.
That's a really good point. And actually, I mean, you could still every Monday you could text them or something too. But that actually brings me back to a thought when we're talking about this whole taking an already scheduled ritual and adding something to it. If it does involve someone else, obviously communicate what your plan for this ritual is, because like with Mason, like maybe Sundays on football, like he doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
I know that's not true
if
for him.
If someone called him, he'd be like, well, I'm watching the Bears game right now. I can't talk.
Yeah, that I'm not a part of this ritual.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yes.
but yeah, so obviously communicate. Like it's one of those things, like I said before, you know, when I introduced the saying the best part of your day at the end of your night, I may have gotten like a little eye roll from Jared, but overall, like he was on board with the idea.
Yes.
But if I was like, hey, so every week before The Voice, I expect you and I to sit down and go over the
Right.
budget or something like that, and like I'm setting these rules or whatever, maybe that flies, but maybe he's also like, really, Monday right after work? Like, I don't want to do that. Just because it works for your schedule, I don't want to do that, you know?
Absolutely.
So it's obviously something, if it involves another person,
Yes.
you're going to
You
need
make
to
sure it
talk
works for both
about.
of you.
But
Yeah.
but I think when you go into it with good intention, you know, like if I told you, hey, I was thinking, you know, every week before volleyball or something like that, like I just really miss talking to you, you know,
Yeah.
would you want to just FaceTime beforehand? It's kind of a bad example because I see you at volleyball every week, but
But if we didn't,
if you were
lived
not
in another state or something, we would do,
yes,
even another city.
yes, no, really, yeah, because when you're apart from someone or you want to build in these connections with them, you want to include them in that, and then also come to them with, this is why I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So perhaps that's one of the steps when we're talking about this is like, okay, think about the things that fill your cup, or think about the things that made you feel really happy and fulfilled. Okay, what are those things? Okay, where can I build them in?
Yeah.
And if they include someone else, telling them that this is your plan, and telling them why, you know, I really want to connect with you more. I feel like this is really important, and then working with them to make sure that timing works out.
Yeah, absolutely. I would even say that, let's say you and your friend, your schedules are not syncing up. Your friend's working whenever you want to call them.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. That's fine. Other things you can do with your friends, and something that I feel like I do with my friends and my sisters and a thing like that, is if I hear a song that makes me think of them, I'm texting them. I'm saying, oh my God, I just heard this song and I really thought of you. Or I'll do this with Mason a lot. I'll hear a song in the morning and be like, wow, I loved this song today. I think he should really start his morning off with this song. I will literally send him the link to the song and be like, good morning, you should listen to this.
I love that.
It's become such a small thing that I actually think we probably got from our parents, of them like choosing songs that were supposed to represent us almost.
Yeah.
So now whenever I hear your song, I'm like, hey, I love you, thinking of you, I heard this on the radio. And it's just such a quick thing that it's a habit of, hear the song, that's the cue, response is texting them.
Yeah.
And letting them know. You don't need a response back, but they know that you are thinking of them and you love them.
Yeah. I have some friends that are really good at that. And just to give some insight to what Bailey was talking about, our parents, which if you want to make this a ritual in your family, it is so cute.
I love it.
But our parents kind of have like a dedicated song for each of us that's like our quote unquote baby song. And so yours is With Arms Wide Open, right?
Yeah.
By Creed. Okay, yeah. And then mine is You'll Be Blessed by Elton John.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through all of them because there's,
Right.
if you didn't
There's
know,
6 of us.
we have 6 kids in our family. So
lot of songs.
yeah. And then because our dad was not there for all of those dedications, my mom picked some of them, our mom picked some of them. He also has a dedicated Beatles song for all of us. So music is just really important in our family.
Yes.
And it totally is something that you can add into, add some rituals with. Like, oh, the cue is, I heard this song. The response is, I sent it to the person that it reminds me
Yes.
of.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just something you didn't think about before. I know right now I'm getting a lot of that with the new Taylor Swift album.
Oh, yes.
Because people know I'm obsessed. So,
Yes,
and
like,
you
oh
do.
my God, love this song.
Yeah, so they'll send it and there's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even catch this lyric, you know?
Yes. So fun.
So it's a really
like
fun
such
way.
An easy way. You're listening to music every day. There's no way you're going throughout your day not listening to music. At some point, it's on the radio, it's on a commercial, it is in an ad. Like you're hearing music at some point. If you hear a song that makes your brain think of someone else, start that habit of telling yourself, let that person know I'm thinking of them.
Yeah, it's just so
an
easy
thing.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. Yeah, I know that another thing, which I feel like we didn't decide to talk about sisters or like siblings as a separate section. And I think it's partially because we were like with friends. The friends section of our episode will cover that because we're such good friends.
Yes.
So I do want to know if y'all feel similarly, like friends can apply to sibling relationships too. But one thing that our other sister Julia was telling me the other day that she's done in like a more recent friendship, or just like, you know, you have those friendships that you've had forever or that you've gone through a lot of things with, so you just know each other so well and you kind of have a bond that won't be broken. When you make adult friendships, it's a little bit different. Like they're almost just like they can be a little bit more formal at first.
They're so formal.
It's like dating.
It is. You have to get to know each other.
Yes.
You're like, how much of myself to expose already?
Exactly. Yeah. And also like, okay, how much is too much? Like, don't want to be, you know, whatever. And so always be yourself, obviously. But she was telling me that she has a really good friend, and she was honestly saying, she was like, yeah, she's probably like one of my best friends, which I love. And so she was saying that something that they've done ever since they became friends, which I don't know how long ago it was, maybe like several months or something, but something that they set an intention for was every time at the end of their hangout or get together or whatever, they plan for the next one.
I love that.
Yeah, and kind of back to like the dating analogy. I know for my friends who do like dating apps and things like that, they do. It is always a good sign when like at the end of the day they're like, okay, do you want to do this again? You know, set that clear communication there instead of feeling ambiguous or whatever, and go ahead and maybe set the date for the next one, or just decide like, okay, yeah, we're going to do it second week of May, or, you know, whatever that is.
Yes.
But I know she says that they literally look at their schedule, plan the next one, and it holds them accountable to seeing each other again. And I just think that's so fun because you, like I said, or like we were saying, it's a little bit more ambiguous as you make adult friendships. It's a little more awkward at first. And so it gives you something to where instead of like, okay, should I ask her? Is it too soon to hang out again? Or
should I text her? Should she text me?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that that's like a real thing.
I know. It really is like dating.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I didn't put it fully together until right now. And I was like, it's just like dating.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because you
Date
put
your friends.
you do put yourself out there. But yeah, so I loved that. So shout out to Julia for giving that idea, because I think that that's something that you don't really think of when it's a friend you've had forever and you're like, oh, of course we'll see each other at some point. Yeah. Or like us sisters or something. But with someone who's like a newer adult friend, or like you were saying with being when you become a mom or something and you start to realize like your interests, like maybe you want someone who does have more similar interests or something like that. Like as you start getting to know other young moms and whatnot, like you do have to start thinking about those friendships and the ways to pour into them, I guess.
Absolutely. So the cue for that one would be that you're done hanging out.
Yeah.
You know you're about to go your own ways. You're giving your hugs. You're saying, oh my God, this was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And then you say, your response is, let's do it again. Yes. When can we meet up again? Are you free again next Friday? Like, does that work for you? Does this day still work for you? Yeah. Such an easy thing to start doing. And then it's just easier to build connections and relationships whenever you don't have to stress about the next time you're going to see each other. Definitely. You already know. And it's also so much more likely you're not going to see each other again if you're not scheduling something. Like, we're in a book club. Shout out book club girls. We love you. We would not do book club if at the end of our current book club, we didn't all schedule a time. There's no way it would ever
Right.
work out for us. So
Yeah.
schedule
Well,
the times.
and honestly, in like groups like that,
Yeah, big groups.
doing it in a text thread gets so
it would be
confusing.
impossible.
Yeah, so it's important to go ahead and do that. And I know we said I realized that we weren't really talking a lot about business or workplace in this podcast episode, but with the podcast, we were saying like every time that we've met, at the end of the meeting, we're like, okay, when are we meeting next?
Yeah.
Because we have to, because there's just that extra layer of accountability, and it's a lot more likely for you to not go, like not
Yes.
do the thing that you want to do if you're not intentional about setting that.
Absolutely.
I actually, there's a statistic in the blood drive world. If you guys don't know, full time I'm a blood drive coordinator, so I coordinate blood drives with local like churches, hospitals, high schools, whatever.
Donate blood.
Yeah, I just did this weekend.
Ooh, good job.
But yeah, but there's a stat that's like it's 4 times more likely for a donor to actually show up to a blood drive or our donor center or whatever if they've made an appointment. Even though we do accept walk-ins, like we always say walk-ins welcome, but we really encourage appointments because if you don't make an appointment and put it on your calendar and you're just like, oh, I'll go do that, that sounds good, you are 1/4 of the likelihood that you will actually show and do that because so many other things get in the way, you know, if you don't put it on your calendar.
Yeah, and you're like, it wasn't scheduled. Like, it's
Exactly.
fine. We can move this around.
And there's no
Big deal.
accountability. Nobody's counting on you because you didn't make the appointment. So they're not like looking at your name like, oh, where's Bailey at? You know, she didn't make it for her 3 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't really know how we got on that, to be honest. But I know we were kind of wrapping up like our topic about friends, and I know we wanted to talk a little bit more. We've kind of talked a little bit about parents and children and that part of the family.
Yep.
But we were thinking about talking more about, why don't we talk about family night? I know you were excited to talk about that.
Yeah, so this is one that we kind of had under, habits that you can do as a family or habits that you can make sure that you are nurturing your relationship with your parents. These are very important. And something our parents did growing up to make sure that they were nurturing their relationship with their kids, being us, was we did a family night every week, right?
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, we had a lot of kids, so we had to make sure that we were deciding and like spreading out whose night it was to plan. So one night it'd be Morgan's night, one night it'd be Jordan's night, one night it'd be Chloe Love's night. So all that being said, that whenever it was your turn to schedule a night, you would pick either like a movie or a game, and you'd pick what you were going to eat for dinner that night. And we all sat around the family table, didn't have our phones out, and it's such an easy thing to make sure, like, oh, it's Sunday, oh, I can't come over, it's family night. Like, and that was just such a good thing that made sure that our relationships with each other were staying nurtured and loved, and that you go through every day, and with your parents, they're saying, hey, have you done your homework? And hey, you have your chores, and oh my God, Mom, can you take me to the store to get this poster board? Like, eventually, all of that things is going to be like, man, we never get to have any fun with each other. We just have to do all of these responsibilities all the time. So family night for our family, I feel like was really important to reconnect with each other, check in on each other. And it was such a fun habit that even I still look forward to those nights that we still have as adults. We do it with our family still. It's not weekly anymore.
I think we shoot for like the first Sunday of the month.
Yeah, we try to, because, there's so many of us now. We're all in different directions.
We have our own families.
Yeah, we have our own families, yeah. But we still do try to get together as that, base OG family.
Yeah.
Make that work still. And that's something that I know I'll be taking into mine and Mason's family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really want to,
That's
of
so
making
cute.
sure that I just think it's so fun. And like whenever your kid gets to choose that movie, you are investing in their life of being like, oh, this is a movie that they really like. Let's watch it with them. Like, oh, this is one of their favorite meals. Like, I know your guys' favorite meals because those are meals that you chose on family nights. Like, such easy things to do.
Yeah.
Yet again.
And even if it wasn't like a whole night like that, which I do agree with you, you kind of go through the mundane, like everyday things.
Yeah.
And it's really easy, again, like we were saying, to get into a rut and not have those intentional points of connection.
Yeah.
But if you build them into the week, like Sunday, this is what we do. And honestly, I remember being a teenager. So heads up, if you have teenagers, and you're just starting this ritual.
Might be a little hard.
Yeah. Like one of our rules was no phones because
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure that we were connecting and talking and all that. And I cannot tell you how many eye rolls I gave my parents, but I do know it was for the best. Like it was
Yeah.
definitely a good point of connection. And honestly, I was talking about us being so close as sisters, like these are times where we had intentional quality time with each other and became friends, like
Yeah.
as we grew up. So it doesn't have to be a full, maybe you guys aren't competitive like we are and you don't want to do games too. You could do a movie or you could do a different activity.
You could even do dinner.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
just sit down at the table.
Yeah, if you know, like Morgan was saying, if you already have teenagers and you're trying to implement this now, it might be a little hard to get everyone on board. It won't be horrible to tell your kid, okay, we're going to sit down for 30 freaking minutes. You're
Yeah.
going to be fine. We're going to eat your favorite meal. Let's talk.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and then I know another one. So that's obviously like we remembered from when we were younger and specific to family, like parents, what they can do to kind of establish this intentional time as a family. But something now that I've noticed that is kind of weird and different when you get older is you start to have like a little bit different, well, a very different relationship with your parents.
Yeah.
And then
the roles change.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also if you do decide to marry, you also have in-law relationships, which is different.
Yeah.
So I did mention earlier that sometime that I had like built in like watching The Bachelor with Jared's mom Kathleen or things like that. And so kind of initiating specific intentional moments to connect with your in-laws is great. But one thing that I really respect that Jared does now with his mom, as their relationship is less like her mothering him and him being her kid, is she's a texter. She loves to text. We text a lot with Kathleen, but Jared kind of like, he gets really overwhelmed with like group texts. And
Yeah, me too.
yeah. So a lot of the time when it's like me and her and Jared's brother and like all of us texting and there's all these texts flying, he kind of shuts it off. Yeah. And so what he's noticed, or so when he started to notice that and that he was missing some of the things that his mom was texting him about because he was just kind of like shutting it off, he decided to start implementing this weekly, it's on Thursdays. He was like, okay, I know I have to make lunch for myself, right? He works remotely. He's a software developer. And he's like, I know that I have to make lunch for myself at some point. I'm going to eat lunch.
Yeah.
So he was like, on Thursdays, when I go to make lunch, as he preps, he sticks in his AirPods and he gives his mom a call, Kathleen a call, and they just have like 15 to 20 minutes while he makes his lunch, eats his lunch.
That's so nice.
Yeah, and just has like a little point of connection with her.
Yes.
And she can catch him up on all the things that he missed while she was texting.
Yes.
And
I love it because I feel like all of what we're talking about are small ways to obviously nurture relationships, and parent relationships are ones that you have to keep nurtured. Like you're not seeing them every day, but like you still love them, you still want to talk to them, you want to be involved in their life, but the ways you're doing it are different. And earlier we were talking about creating the habits that work for both of you.
yes.
Kathleen's habit of texting does not work for Jared.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what would work for my mom? If I call her. That'll work for both of us. 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, that's so nice. It works for both of them. It's a great way for them to stay connected and to keep that relationship cup filled.
Yeah. So that's just one example. If you guys have more examples about how you nurture those relationships with your in-laws or your parents as your adults, please let us know. Obviously, this is something that you work through.
Those are hard ones to get to.
Yeah. And it's something that like I'm sure that our relationship with our parents is just going to keep changing and evolving as we get older and we all have different life phases.
Of course.
It's just it's interesting. I think it's really a fascinating topic, but that's just like one little small example.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how other people are making sure that they're staying connected with their parents, and a lot of people move away.
Yeah.
How are you staying connected with your family members? I think that's super important to know.
Very true. I know we kind of wanted the like last sphere of relationships we kind of wanted to talk about like workplace or like coworkers. And I think this is a little more important to me than you maybe.
Yeah.
Or not that it's not important to you, but
Yeah. I just view it differently. And we were just talking about our Morgan and I are not very far apart in age, like what, 3.5 years?
yeah, I'm going to be 29. How
I'm
old
gonna
are
be
you?
26.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
25 right now. So.
Okay, yeah. So about 3.5 years, yeah.
Yeah, so we're like 3.5 years, and it's almost, we are in the same generation, right? No, we're in different ones.
I think technically we're not, yeah.
Okay, so we're in different ones, but we're so similar in age. It's like you would think it's very similar, but there's things that, for me, being close with my coworkers, and if any of my coworkers are listening, I like working with you a lot. You're great. I don't care about having a outside of work relationship with them, and I never have.
Yeah.
I have worked with older people, I've worked with younger people, I've worked with people my age. I have never ever been interested in being like, hey, do you want to go to like get drinks together after work? That's not me. I want to go home after work.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a funny thing. So yeah, this topic of nurturing your coworker relationships, not one that was important to me. And I said, Morgan was like, oh, it's kind of important to me. And I was like, really? So take it away.
Yeah.
How do you keep those relationships nurtured?
I was going to say, maybe for you, like, work is work and life is life.
It really is, yes.
And for me, the reason I brought up the millennial thing earlier is because I'm, like, in the in-between. We're both kind of in the in-between. You're technically Gen Z and I'm technically millennial. But I went to a work conference and speaking of work,
Yeah.
I went to a work conference and they were saying one thing about work that millennials feel is important is like kind of to have work-life integration. And while I do have like really firm boundaries around work
Yes.
and life, I do still care. I do still want to have relationships with my coworkers.
Yeah.
Kind of like outside of work.
And I love that for you.
Like I want to invite them to my birthday and I want to make sure that we have lunches and things like that.
That's so nice.
So a couple of the things that came to mind, and I'll kind of speed through this because we might have some other Gen Zers that don't care about this listening.
Skip ahead.
Yeah, but if you're a millennial like me, or you just really want everybody, you like really care about having good relationships with everybody.
Yeah.
Something that my workplace does, and again, just to keep, I know we keep reiterating this, but think about something that always happens. And in the workplace, there's a lot of those things, like
Yes.
things that happen regularly. You have a team meeting or you have a report or something. And those are the things that came to mind was every morning we get a report of the blood drives from yesterday, how they did, and then the upcoming blood drives, like how we're doing on appointments. And when that report comes out, every time it comes in, if I notice that somebody, like one of my coworkers, had a really great blood drive, I just take the 5 seconds to forward that report to them.
Yes.
And I say, oh my gosh, great job at Blue Springs High School yesterday. That was
Yeah.
awesome. I can't believe that they had 100 students come. This is real, actually.
Oh.
They had 100
yay.
students show up to donate. That's so cool. You know, and it just takes
Yeah.
like 5 seconds.
Yes.
It's not a super, but it is a point of connection. And I have had coworkers tell me that it means a lot to them. And when
Good.
they do it to me, it means a lot to me. So it's
Such
just
small
a tiny
habit.
yeah. And then the other one that I thought of was we have a team meeting every other Tuesday morning at the, we physically have to go to the office, and you know, my workplace is kind of hybrid. So we're kind of siloed. Like we all have different territories. So we don't see each other regularly except for these team meetings.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like you got to do a little bit extra if you want to have a relationship with each other. So our team
That
meetings.
makes sense. I will say that's another huge different thing for me. I'm in the office every day with my people. I see them every day.
Yeah.
I like talk to them about their lives. I feel connected with them. So
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, you're fine. If I didn't see them, or if these team meetings are once every other week, so 2 times a month, is the max that I will see them if we don't add something else.
See, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That really is good.
Yeah. So what I've started doing is like our team meetings are Tuesdays 9 to 10:30, and usually what I'll do is I'll work I'll stay at the office and work from there from like 10:30 to 11:30 and then go to lunch with one or a couple of them. And so that way we kind of have that additional time, not even just to talk. We don't even really talk about work. I try not to, at least, because over my lunch, I don't want to think about work. So but that's where I can kind of like catch up with them on like how their family is doing, or, you know, vacations that they have coming up, things like that. So again, I think that's just another example of something that you can do in another sphere of your life where you can pay attention to what things are already happening on a regular, consistent basis, and then add where you want that connection point to be. Yeah. And so it's really, both of those things are really easy to do.
They happen every week.
Yeah. And don't take a lot. So I think that was kind of our like final relationship segment we wanted to talk about, was like in the workplace. And really it was me that wanted to talk about it.
It's important.
Yeah. But I know we wanted to kind of, in closing, encourage you guys to think about, pay attention, like I just said, to what things you already do regularly, or that, like you said, your partner does regularly, or someone in your life, your kid does regularly. And then really think about, like I was saying with the dancing at weddings, which is such a silly example, but what was true the last time your cup felt really full? Like when was the last time you felt really happy, you felt really excited about life, and you were just really fulfilled, and what things were true of then? And then how can you combine those two to make your cups more full?
Yeah.
And
to get these little rituals in place.
Yeah.
Those cups filled all across the board.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'd love to hear a little bit about what kinds of things you're already doing, or things that you're like, oh, you know, now that you say it, I really want to implement this thing right before bed.
Yes, I would love to hear that. See if this episode kind of helps anybody of thinking like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to be this big occasion. It can be these small little things we do every day.
Yeah.
That we can bring into our lives together.
Yeah. So maybe we like, even just to make this really tangible, really you can take it away right now. Right now, step 1.
Yes.
Step 1, you write down all of the things that were true, whether that's your nails were painted, or you were dancing, or you ate 3 meals in that day, or whatever it was that was really true the last time you remember feeling like, oh, really good, really happy, really fulfilled. That's step 1. Evaluate those things. Step 2 is looking at, okay, what cups are you looking to fill the most? You know, do you want some more connection with your partner, more connection with your parents, more connection with your coworkers, whatever that is, and look at the things that already exist on a regular schedule there. Look at that schedule. That's step 2. And then step 3 is think of one small thing that you can do in that already scheduled thing from your list that made you really happy and full, and apply that to those places. Maybe that's kind of step 1, step 2, step 3. This is what we want you to do.
Boom, boom, boom. Easy as that. I love that. Another tangible thing we can do right now is we're going back to our friends. You heard this episode, you thought about a friend, you're sending it to that friend right now, and you're saying, I just thought of you. Or you're sending it to your boyfriend, girlfriend right now saying, oh, wow, I love this habit. Let's start doing this. Like, that's something easy right there. You're sending the link.
Yeah.
Have it done.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, so if you feel this episode was helpful, please be sure to leave a review. Make sure that you're subscribed, and share it with someone you think might vibe with it.
Yes. And thank you guys again for listening in. Next week, next Monday, our next episode is going to be Summer Bucket List. Woo! You'll want to make sure to listen to that one. We've got great ideas coming your way.
Yeah. Tune into our social media to tell us what's on yours.
Yes. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.